You may think the most dangerous part of a cruise is rough seas, but sometimes the real risk starts after the gangway. These are cruise ports where the U.S. warns travelers to stay alert, reconsider travel, or avoid certain areas completely. And the last one may surprise even regular cruisers. So number 1, Labadee, Haiti. Labadee is one of the strangest examples on the list, because on paper, it can look like a private beach day. Calm water, chairs lined up near the sand, food set up for passengers, staff guiding you where to go. But outside that controlled cruise area, Haiti is under one of the strongest warnings the U.S. government can issue. The State Department clearly lists Haiti as level 4, do not travel, because of kidnapping, crime, terrorist activity, civil unrest, and limited health care. And that matters because cruise passengers often judge risk by what they can see from the ship. And from the ship, everything may look organized. But travel safety is not just about the view from your balcony. It's about what happens if something goes wrong. Can help reach you quickly? Can medical care handle an emergency? Can the security situation change while you're on shore? In Haiti, those are serious questions. Now, this doesn't mean every passenger who steps into a cruise-managed area is automatically in danger. That would be too simple. Cruise lines often build layers of control around these beach destinations. But it does mean this is not the kind of place where you should improvise. Do not treat it like a normal port day where you wander outside the approved area to see the real place. Do not arrange a random ride. Do not assume that because the beach feels calm, the wider region is calm too. Labadee is the perfect reminder that a cruise stop can feel safe in one small pocket while the country around it is facing a very different reality. So if your cruise includes Haiti, pay attention to itinerary changes, listen to ship announcements, stay in the controlled zone, and understand this clearly. The danger here is not usually the chair by the beach. It's what happens if you step outside the bubble. Number 2, Acapulco, Mexico. Acapulco is a name many travelers still connect with old-school glamour. For decades, it was the Mexican beach city people dreamed about. Movie stars went there. Wealthy travelers went there. The name itself still sounds like vacation. But today, Acapulco sits inside Guerrero, and Guerrero is under a level 4 do not travel warning from the U.S. State Department due to crime and terrorism. The advisory also says U.S. government employees may not travel to any area in Guerrero, including Acapulco. That is the part cruise passengers need to hear, because a famous resort name can make a place feel safer than it is. Acapulco is not on this list because someone might overcharge you for a taxi or sell you a bad souvenir. It's here because the official advisory points to a much deeper security problem across the state. For a cruise passenger, the port itself may feel manageable. You may see other tourists, you may see guides, or you may see familiar excursion signs. But the risk rises when passengers leave the planned path. A cheap private driver outside the terminal. A last-minute beach recommendation from someone you do not know. A quick detour because it's only 10 minutes away. Now, those are the choices that can turn a simple port day into a problem. The smart move in Acapulco is simple. Stay with cruise line excursions or heavily vetted operators. Do not travel outside approved tourist routes. Do not go looking for nightlife. Do not assume that because older travelers remember Acapulco fondly, the current safety picture is the same. That is the trap with this port. Its reputation belongs in one era, the advisory belongs to this one. And when those two things disagree, you should trust the warning more than the nostalgia. Number 3, Mazatlan, Mexico. Mazatlan is more complicated than some people want to admit. It's not a port where every inch feels frightening. It has a historic center. It has the Malecon. It has cruise tours, restaurants, beaches, and plenty of passengers who visit without trouble. But Mazatlan is in Sinaloa, and Sinaloa is under a level 4 do not travel warning due to crime and terrorism. The Mexico advisory says U.S. government employees may travel to Mazatlan by air or sea, but their movement is limited to specific areas, including the historic town center and parts of the Malecon. That detail is important. It does not say go anywhere you want. It says the safer movement is narrow. That's exactly how cruise passengers should think about Mazatlan. Not as a place you must panic about, but not as a place you should casually roam through either. This is a stay-in-the-lane port. The mistake many passengers make is thinking the cruise ship has already done all the risk calculation for them. They think, well, if the ship stopped here, the whole city must be fine. No! A ship docking in a port does not turn the surrounding regions into a theme park. It means the line has decided there is a way to operate the call. That way may depend on timing, route control, local partners, and keeping passengers inside certain zones. So if you go ashore in Mazatlan, keep your day tight. Use official or well-reviewed tours. Avoid far-out countryside drives. Keep valuables low-key. Do not wander away from the tourist core just because a street looks interesting, and do not turn a port day into an experiment. Mazatlan can still give you a good cruise day, but it asks something from you. Pay attention to the boundaries, because in this port, the difference between smart travel and careless travel may only be a few wrong turns. Number 4. Manzanillo, Mexico. Manzanillo is another Mexican port where the map matters. The city is in Colima, and Colima is listed as a level 4 do not travel due to crime and kidnapping. The advisory allows limited travel for U.S. government employees only in certain Manzanillo tourist and port areas, including the historic center, the Malecon, the hotel zone, and specific tourist peninsulas. That should shape how a cruise passenger sees this stop. The warning is not saying every place in Manzanillo is the same. It's saying that movement needs to be controlled. And that is where many travelers make mistakes. They hear Mexico Port and treat it like every other beach call. They think the danger is either everywhere or nowhere. But travel safety is usually more specific than that. One street can be tourist-facing. Another route can lead into a very different environment. One beach club can be used to handling cruise guests, and another informal ride can take you outside the safe pattern without you realizing it. Manzanillo is the kind of port where the safest version of the day is boring in the best possible way. You get off the ship, you stay in approved areas, you use trusted transport, you do not rent a car carelessly, you do not chase a secret local spot from a stranger, and you do not decide that the official warning is overdramatic because the first 30 minutes felt calm. That calm can be real, but it may also be local, limited, and dependent on staying where visitors are expected to stay. This is where experienced cruisers separate themselves from careless ones. They do not need to prove they're fearless, and they do not need the most authentic detour. They understand that a cruise port can still be enjoyable without turning the day into a risk test. In Manzanillo, the safest cruise day is not complicated. Stay close, stay planned, stay inside the known areas. That is the whole game. Number 5. Cartagena, Colombia. Cartagena is one of the most beautiful cruise ports in the Caribbean region. The old city has color, balconies, stone walls, music, heat, movement, and that feeling that every corner could become a postcard. But Colombia is currently listed as Level 3, reconsider travel, because of crime, terrorism, civil unrest, kidnapping, and natural disasters. So Cartagena needs a balanced warning. This is not a place to describe like a war zone. That would be unfair and lazy. Many cruise passengers visit Cartagena, take guided tours, walk parts of the old city, see the fortress, buy coffee and emeralds, and return to the ship with no issues. But that does not mean the risk is imaginary. The real problem for cruise travelers is overconfidence. Cartagena can feel so alive and so welcoming that passengers drop their guard. They take their phone out constantly. They wear flashy watches. They follow random street offers. They accept help they did not ask for. They wander too far from the main tourist zone because the city feels exciting. That is when problems can start. The U.S. advisory warns about crime risks in Colombia. And in a cruise context, that usually means you should be sharp about robbery, scams, drink safety, transportation, and nighttime movement. So treat Cartagena as a beautiful port that deserves respect. Book a reputable guide. Use trusted transportation. Keep jewelry simple. Keep your phone closed. Be careful with street interactions that become too pushy. And do not let a charming setting make you forget you're still in a big city with real safety concerns. This port can absolutely be worth seeing, but it rewards discipline. Cartagena is not the place to float through the day half aware, distracted by your camera, assuming every stranger who approaches you is harmless. Enjoy the city. Just do it with your eyes open. Number 6. Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. Port of Spain is not always at the top of cruise passengers' minds. It does not have the same vacation image as some Caribbean beach ports. It feels more like a working capital city, because that's what it is. And that's part of why the risk can catch visitors off guard. Trinidad and Tobago is currently Level 3, reconsider travel, due to crime, health, and terrorism. The advisory also says crime remains a constant throughout the country, with specific restrictions for U.S. government employees in parts of Port of Spain. This is serious language. For cruise passengers, the concern is not that every person ashore is in danger. The concern is that Port of Spain is not a casual wandering spot. You should not step off the ship and decide to explore random streets without a plan. You should not assume every taxi is fine. And you should not treat an unfamiliar urban area like a resort village. The advisory mentions crime and terrorism risk, and it notes that certain areas of Port of Spain are restricted for U.S. government employees. That does not mean you need to stay in your cabin, but it means your port day should be structured. Use cruise-approved tours or trusted operators. Avoid isolated lookout points. Avoid wandering downtown without guidance. Do not go out after dark if your ship is in port late. And keep cash and valuables controlled. And avoid getting pulled into side trips you did not plan. This is also a port where timing matters. A daytime guided visit can feel very different from drifting around later with no clear route back. Port of Spain asks you to be realistic. It's not a beach bubble. It's a real city with real urban risk. And on a cruise, the goal is not to prove how independent you are. The goal is to get back on the ship safe, calm, and on time. Number 7. Puerto Quetzal, Guatemala. Puerto Quetzal is different from a lot of ports on this list. The danger is not usually about standing near the dock. The bigger question is where you go from there. Guatemala is currently Level 3, reconsider travel, due to crime and terrorism, and some areas carrying higher risk. For cruise passengers, Puerto Quetzal is often a gateway port. People use it to reach Antigua, volcanic landscapes, cultural sites, markets, coffee farms, and inland tours. And some of those places can be incredible, but this is where the risk becomes practical. Long drives, road conditions, timing, transport quality, distance from the ship, limited flexibility if something goes wrong. A cruise passenger has one big weakness on inland excursions. The ship leaves. That means every delay matters more. A road closure, traffic jam, vehicle issue, weather problem, or security concern can suddenly become more stressful because you're watching the clock. The U.S. advisory also warns against certain forms of travel and highlights higher risk areas within Guatemala. So this is not the place to get creative with transportation. Do not use random public buses. Do not choose a driver only because the price is low. Do not go far inland without a serious return plan. And do not book an independent tour unless the operator has real reviews, clear communication, and experience with cruise timing. Puerto Quetzal can be a rewarding stop if handled correctly, but it is not a port where you should wing it. The best version of the day is planned before you leave the ship. You know where you're going, you know who's driving, you know the route, you know the return time, and you leave a buffer. Now that may sound cautious. Good. because caution is exactly what keeps a beautiful inland excursion from turning into the most stressful day of your cruise. Number 8. Roatan, Honduras. Roatan is a favorite for many cruisers. Clear water, beach clubs, snorkeling, diving, sloths, warm weather. It has all the pieces of a perfect Caribbean cruise day. But Roatan belongs to Honduras, and Honduras is currently Level 3, reconsider travel, due to crime. The State Department says violent crime, including homicide, armed robbery, and kidnapping, remains common in Honduras, while noting that resort areas in the Bay Islands, including Roatan, are better policed. That last part is important. Roatan is not the same safety picture as the highest risk mainland areas. The advisory itself makes that distinction, but that does not mean you should switch off your brain. This is one of those ports where the tourist area can feel so easy that people forget they're still in a country with a serious crime advisory. And cruise passengers are sometimes at their most careless when a place feels familiar. They bring too much cash. They leave bags on beach chairs. They wander away from a group. They hop into informal taxis. They rent scooters without understanding the roads. They go looking for a quiet beach with no plan for getting back. And that is how an easy port gets messy. The smarter approach is simple. Use known beach clubs. Book reputable excursions. Keep valuables minimal. Stay aware when moving between the port and beaches. Avoid isolated areas. Do not flash money. And be careful with transportation outside the port gates. Roatan can still be one of the best days of your cruise, but treat it like a controlled adventure, not a free-for-all. The water may be calm, but the safety choices still matter. And that is the balance every cruise passenger needs to understand here. Roatan can be beautiful and still require caution. Both things can be true. Number 9. Belize City, Belize. Belize City is one of those ports where the cruise experience can change very quickly depending on what you do after arrival. Many ships tender passengers in. You step off, you see tour signs, shops, guides, crowds, and the normal rush of a port day. But Belize has a specific warning that matters directly to cruise travelers. The U.S. advisory says to reconsider travel to Southside Belize City due to crime. It says violent crime in Belize City mostly happens on the south side and is often connected to gang activity. U.S. government employees are strongly discouraged from traveling south of the Haulover Creek Canal continuing to Faber's Road. Now that is very specific, and specific warnings are useful. They tell you that the risk is not the entire country in the same way. It's tied strongly to where you go and how you move. For cruise passengers, Belize can offer excellent excursions, snorkeling, islands, cave tubing, Mayan ruins, wildlife, barrier reef trips. But Belize City itself is not the place to wander without direction. The common mistake is thinking, well, I'll just walk around near the port and see what I find. That may sound harmless, but in Belize City, a few wrong blocks can change the feel of the day. So keep this one simple. If you're doing an excursion, use a trusted operator. If you're staying near the port, stay in the tourist village and controlled areas. Avoid south side neighborhoods. Do not drive between cities after dark. Do not leave your return timing to chance. And do not let a pushy street offer make decisions for you. Belize is not a port to dismiss. It can be spectacular. But the best Belize cruise day usually happens with structure. You pick the experience, you know the route, you use the right people, and you avoid drifting. Because in Belize City, drifting is a mistake. Number 10. Montego Bay and Ocho Rios, Jamaica. Jamaica may be the most familiar name on this list. That is exactly why it belongs here. Because when a place is famous, cruise passengers often think they already understand it. Montego Bay, Ocho Rios, Dunn's River Falls, reggae, jerk chicken, beach resorts, big smiles, warm weather. All of that is real, but the safety warning is real too. Jamaica is currently level 2. Exercise increased caution due to crime, health, and natural disaster risks. The advisory also identifies certain high crime areas as level 4 do not travel and says U.S. citizens should take the same precautions as U.S. government employees who are restricted from some high-risk areas. This is the part many cruisers miss. Jamaica as a country is not under a blanket do not travel warning, but some areas are serious enough that the advisory says not to travel there. And some of those areas are connected to parishes that cruise passengers know by name, including areas around Montego Bay and Ochos Rios. So the safest way to think about Jamaica is not fear, it's precision. Tourist areas can be lower risk than other parts of the country. Many passengers visit, take excursions, enjoy the day, and return safely. But problems can happen when people leave the tourist pattern. They take public buses. They follow someone offering a better deal. They go into neighborhoods they don't know. They travel between cities at night. They carry too much cash. Or they assume the resort version of Jamaica applies everywhere. That is where risk grows. So keep your Jamaican day clean. Use vetted excursions. Stay in established tourist corridors. Avoid public buses. Do not drive between cities at night. Keep valuables low-key. And if a situation feels pressured, walk away early. Jamaica can be warm, memorable, and full of life. But it is not a port where you should be careless. Respect the boundaries, and you may have a great day. Ignore them, and the island can change fast. The point is not to scare you off cruising. It's to help you step off the ship with sharper eyes. Every port has a safer way to enjoy it. Plan carefully, stay aware, and avoid shortcuts. Hey, like and subscribe and watch the next video on screen to travel smarter. Your voyage is just beginning.